everybody. Welcome to the morning show. We're coming to you today on WJOPLP Newburyport at FM 96.3 on Channel 9 and on Newburyport Community Media's YouTube station at ncmhub.org. I'm your host, Mary Jacobsen, and this morning I am just delighted to welcome Denise DeSimone here. She's a Newburyport resident, and she is the author of From Stage 4 to Center Stage, which tells the story of her having received a stage 4 diagnosis of throat cancer and then undergoing an arduous treatment regimen of radiation and surgery, and then 22 months later, against expectations and perhaps the odds, after being told she might never regain her singing voice, being center stage at Fenway Park and singing the National Anthem in front of 37,000, a sold-out crowd of Red Sox fans. Denise, welcome, and thank you so much for taking time to be on the morning show.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for asking.
Well, it's my pleasure to have you here, and in full transparency, it's got particular meaning for me since I'm currently undergoing chemo myself and coming close to the end of it. Yay.
Yay.
So your book and your insights that you share in your book had particular meaning and relevance for me. Your story is inspiring, not only for how you dealt with becoming well again after your cancer diagnosis and the treatments you endured, but for the perspectives and ideas on healing that appear to me to be useful for anyone dealing with any type of illness or any other kind of misfortune in life. I'd love you to talk more about the themes that stood out to me, starting with initially, you struggled with wondering why cancer had developed in you, especially since you had always been such an active, healthy, and very spiritual person and a practicing healer yourself. This question is very common for people, I think, and a difficult one. But you found a way to grow past it. So let's start out, if you wouldn't mind, Denise, by talking about how you dealt with this question.
Well, thank you again for taking the time and asking me to be with you. It's very heartwarming to be in my hometown and be able to share with local people and maybe beyond. So oftentimes when people are diagnosed with something like cancer or whatever, like you said, there are many opportunities for transformation in life through our challenges, yes?
Yes, absolutely.
And so with cancer, some people can fall into the victimhood of why me?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the why question and the why me are very distinctively different.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was more on the why. Why now? Why this? What are the lessons? What am I here to learn? I didn't take a spiritual bypass and get all, well, this has been the greatest thing that's happened right away, because that's really not normal and it's really not me, and I'm not proposing that.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a why, and, what is all this? I always like to take the 5,000-foot view when things happen. If you go to my website, DeniseDeSimone.com, on the front page of my theme is turn doorways into transformation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just use this lesson.
Yeah.
And the why came to me. Why was because I needed to have a closer walk with Spirit, a closer walk with God. Mm-hmm. I had done a lot of work on myself. I'm part of a wonderful community, Unity community. Mm-hmm. I was very involved there, and all of a sudden I'm sitting down and can't move and very sick. And so I looked at the why as, well, I need to answer this question.
Yeah.
And what came to me was that I don't want to use the word, I'll say selected, if you will, to follow Spirit's guidance and not get crazy and angry. And, there were times I did, I'm not going to lie. But for the bigger percentage of time, I was very involved in why, what can I learn, and how do I approach this? Do I bring in my alternative knowledge? Do I enroll my naturopath with my oncologist?
Yeah.
And why look at it as a battle when I know that flies in the face of our culture? I couldn't do it. I had to look at this why as, why this, why now? And the answer came to me as, you have to befriend this. You have to learn from it. You have to make a relationship with it from a loving platform, not some place where you're angry at this.
Yeah. Well, it strikes me that gives you an active role to play rather than feeling like a passive victim of an illness. You position yourself in relationship to the cancer as having an active role to play in discerning a meaning and creating, and I think it's empowering to feel like we can be active. We can interact with something rather than just wait and let something take its toll. It reminds me, recently I came across a quotation from Octavia Butler, who's best known for her science fiction work, and she talked about we need to be partners with our lives and with the things that happen to us. And that's pretty much what you're describing. I'm going to partner with this. And if you do that, you're not a victim. You're a partner with something. And it strikes me as being the most constructive and useful way to respond to something, because you can create meaning out of that. And it sounds as though that was what you did, to the effect of finding a way to transform cancer from something that had victimized you into something you could partner with and find the meaning of and use for your own purposes, to find your own meaning.
Well, most people don't want to take an active role because, not they don't want to, they're not aware that that's a possibility.
Yeah, I think
so
you're
then
right.
my life does what it does. My book comes out.
Yeah.
My documentary is now out. And people don't realize, oh, wow, I can befriend this. I can not just partner, but I can actually have an interactive relationship like I would with my friend.
Yeah.
You have to trust it. When you become a victim, you forfeit and you turn your power over.
Yeah.
We have to claim our power in a loving, caring way to take care of ourselves. And when something like a cancer diagnosis is done, some people can do it their way. Some people can battle and get mad and angry, and they survive. I chose, and I've helped a lot of people because I do a lot of spiritual wellness coaching, to just entertain the idea that this isn't the enemy.
Yeah.
And if you look at this as the enemy, it's already angry, you want to fight with this? No. What I did is I corralled all the good cells, and I made them I invited them to love on the cells that were unhappy.
Oh, I love that, Denise. You corralled them.
I did. I recruited them. It was a recruitment.
You made them your partners.
I did.
In the process of healing. I love that.
And I also dialogued. I named my cancer PIN for pain in the neck. Because it was,
appropriately enough.
I don't have this whole left side of my neck. So I named it PIN, and I started asking questions. And I got some really good information.
Yeah.
That's all in the book.
Yes, it is. Yeah, very powerful information and insights that clearly you're adopting the stance of dialoguing with the cancer to cull whatever wisdom you could. Was, helped you heal in many ways.
Yeah.
That's the story that comes through strongly in the book. It was truly transformative in many aspects of your life. I'm glad to hear you talk about transforming the metaphor of cancer as something that you fight or as the enemy, because I think commonly people will do that.
Yeah.
That metaphor of fighting cancer or battling cancer. I had a friend once whose son very sadly had cancer, and their posts were full of, we're going to kick cancer's butt. But cancer's inside you. It's a process that we go through. And so if you're kicking cancer's butt, I think you're in an antagonistic relationship that is something that holds the potential for transformation inside you. And you saw that potential. And it just seems like a more peaceable and more productive way of interacting, and as you put it, harvesting the good cells and having them work with the healing process to good effect. So
and it's a challenge. I mean, challenges are doorways to transformation.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the challenge is. It matters that you can look at this challenge and say, is this a possible doorway into a transformation? What is the transformation about? What am I willing, and what do you want the outcome to be?
Right.
I didn't hold on too hard to the possibility that I would die. I let it go, and I said, if that's my fate, Shakespeare said we all owe God one good death, right?
Right. Yes. Right.
And we don't know what time it is. When
We
that other number on the side of the dash
Right.
is going to entertain us on the next realm, on the
That's
next
right.
level.
Right.
So, as crazy as this sounds, I, as much as I could, I enjoyed the spiritual aspects of the ride.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Spirit, you can beat me up all you want. I was beaten up. I mean, I had a feeding
Yeah.
tube for 9 months. Took me 3 years to learn to eat. I had to eat baby food. I couldn't swallow. It was like I had surgeries. They took my neck off. I said, you can beat me up all you want physically. Because every time you beat me up physically, my spirit's going higher and higher. Like Michelle Obama, when they go low.
You
When
go
this went
high.
low, I went higher and higher and higher.
Yeah.
And I kind of had fun in a lot of ways.
Well, which is remarkable and inspiring, you
Yeah.
know. And what you do in your book is you mapped out. That's a path. That's an alternate path.
Yes.
And it's a very different path from the fighting, battling kind of
God, yeah.
metaphor. But as you can utilize your own spirituality as your guide and your source of strength, and you can transcend. So.
Yeah, and when we, a lot of people out there, maybe you go to church, maybe you pray a lot, maybe you beg God when things, don't come out the way you want them to. But one of the things is that, we go in through life and we, and I was 50 years old when that happened. It was 18 years ago. They gave me 3 months to live. When you really look at that as an opportunity and you don't get too wrapped up in having to have the outcome be the way you think it should be. There's freedom.
Yeah, freedom, which
There's
is a
freedom in
beautiful
your
thing.
soul. There's freedom in your spirit.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there were days I wasn't mad. I had a wiffle ball
Well.
bat. That was my anger management tool. Did you read that?
I remember reading
I'm
about
like,
that.
I'm busy. I was busy. I went from busy, sit down.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to get it out there. Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is that you followed your own instincts about treatment. And when a treatment didn't feel right for you, you spoke out
Yes.
and held steady on your own behalf. Now, this can be very challenging in a medical system when people are confronted with doctors and protocols that are backed by statistics and institutions and people's official degrees and titles, and yet you were able to stay true to yourself even in the midst of what can be an overwhelming medical establishment at times. So how were you able to stay true to yourself, and what difference do you think it made for you in your healing journey?
Oh, great question. It made a huge difference because I think we know what we know. And then you pull a cancer diagnosis or some other challenge, or diabetes or Parkinson's, or you just lost a child or whatever. But in the medical establishment specifically, I mean, we've done leaps and bounds with cancer, okay? Yet we're not anywhere near there.
Yeah.
And I knew and I learned I am my own best advocate. My spirit, my God, my guides, my knowing. We have two brains, one ear and one ear. The gut brain, most people say, oh man, I had a gut feeling. Oh, my gut told me and I went the other way. Don't go the other way. Listen to your gut. I listened to my gut and I gently said to my doctors, and I'm not proposing this, I knew what was right for me.
Yeah.
That chemo wasn't the thing for me.
Yeah.
Now, here I am, stage 4, all over my neck, and my throat, and I'm telling the white coats, I'll let you do it once and then I'll see. And then I said no.
Yeah.
I did do a lot of radiation, but I had access to a plethora of healing modalities. And I spent all the money I saved because insurance won't entertain that, which is sad. We have to work on that. And I knew the balance of what I needed to do, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and mentally. And, the doctors came around. My family trusts me. They were a little bit concerned at first, and I said, I got this. And if I don't, then I don't. But this is the way I have to go through. Mary, I wouldn't be here today if I had filled myself up with that. I know I wouldn't have.
Well, clearly you had a well-developed sense of what was right for you. It wasn't.
I always do.
Which is a strength, and it gives you like a North Star, to navigate.
Yeah.
And trust. Yes. And to navigate on and to feel confident.
Yes.
Because your judgment clearly proves to be good for you. Here you are.
Yeah.
You're living proof.
Yeah.
And you trusted your own instincts, and you had the strength and the clarity and the courage to stay true to yourself, even in the face of other voices that might have said, "Are you sure?" But you were sure. And I'm sure that your past you led a very spiritual life,
Yes.
Learning how to tap into your sources of inner wisdom, and it worked for you. But I also think that's inspiring for people to learn about, because that can be a hard thing for people to feel in the face, again, of all the kind of medical data, and what you get are a lot of odds and statistics, percentages.
And
about
that's where I go
prognosis,
in my
so-
teaching, because I am a spiritual wellness coach. I work
Yes.
not just with cancer patients. When I do work with anyone, I'll take a client, and I teach
Yeah.
groups. I'm starting another group class on January 16th.
Excellent.
I'm doing one master class and then offering a 9-week program. It's called Who Else Puts Food in Your Mouth and Thoughts in Your Head? And people think, oh, it's about losing weight. No. It's about gaining many tools
Yeah.
in your spiritual toolkit for
Wonderful.
well-being.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about it.
Absolutely.
Very excited
Yeah.
about that. And, people have an opportunity to go into a place they have never been. They never thought of it,
Yes.
you
right.
know? They just never thought
Right.
of a different approach, or, they get nervous. First thing I tell people when they come to me and they have a cancer diagnosis, you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Secondly, you have time. Do not panic. Take your time. Know yourself. You'll make the right decision. If you don't speed through and put all the power in the doctor's hands, they don't want it. Doctors don't want you, coming in. They want you to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
They do. They really, really do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're opening doors in people's minds, which strikes me as a very positive and hopeful,
Yeah.
and potentially transformative thing to do. So, well, Denise, there's something else I wanted to ask you about, because in your book you talk about attitudes that help you stay grounded and on course with your medical and your emotional and spiritual journey. And one powerful idea that you talk about was the Buddhist observation that all suffering comes from resisting reality, the essence of the Four Noble Truths, as they would say.
Yes.
So please tell us more about how this idea proved helpful in cultivating the attitudes that you've been describing that nurtured you through your journey back to wellness.
Well, as humans, we want to bang up against reality. When,
Well put.
when things don't show up the way we think they should, and we're, every day, you can go out in the street and hear horns, bah, bah, bah. Well, the reality is the guy in front of you has his brakes on because the guy in front of him has his brakes on.
Yeah.
Okay? That's reality. There's nothing you can do by blowing your horn at that person. There's so many places in everyday life where reality is either accepted or rejected. Accepted is a peaceful, loving core. Rejected is you're going to start fighting with everybody, and there's enough fighting.
There is more than enough.
So when
fighting.
Buddhists say, rejecting reality is you do suffer.
Yes.
And I knew I'm suffering enough physically. I mean, it was really rigorous, Mary.
Yeah.
And I'm not complaining, but there were days when I would say, I can do this for 10 minutes. Especially when they cut my whole neck off.
yeah.
And nerves, thousands of nerves
Yeah.
cut. That was awful.
Right.
And I said, I can do this for 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Some days that went on for 4 or 5 hours. The only way I got through.
Yeah.
And now, did I resist that reality? No, I worked with it. But you have to allow yourself to be willing to forego the physicalness and understand humans heal.
Yes. Yeah, we do.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
And in the process of healing, let your spirit, like I said, soar, and you can find a place where you're not so consumed with suffering.
Yeah. Whereas if you're knocking your head against reality, all you'll get is a sore head.
You get a bad headache.
Reality is there.
You get a whopper of a migraine.
That's true. A whopper and a migraine, and that's no fun.
No.
Well, another powerful idea that you applied to your experience was, and I was struck with this, to replace judgment with curiosity. So please tell us more about the power of curiosity and how that helped you.
Well, again, it's a gentleness, judgment, even the word. Judgment, judges.
It's got a harsh edge to it, doesn't it?
It's a harsh edge, and our court system is the judge, and the judge is the
Right.
Imagine if every time, and this is what I started to work with, I thought every time because I'm all Italian, I grew up in a crazy, crazy Italian household, lots of people, lots of aunts, lots of uncles. Everybody had judgment about everybody, and in the 50s and 60s there was judgment about different kinds of people, and I didn't feel that was my path. I grew up in it, and when people say, what did you do to heal? I say to them, I didn't do anything. I undid a lot. There's a lot of stuff that layers on to us from parents. I love my parents, but they were old school Italian. They were judgmental. I live with them. You pick up. And you have to undo once you know who you are. And what works and what resonates. But to be shifting from judgment to curiosity allows us to accept people, accept a situation, not judge it. And if you have that idea like, oh, maybe this is the position I'm in and I can be curious about it, or this person is coming at me and I want to judge them and make them wrong, to be able to shift to a place of curiosity, like, I wonder why, this has come into my life, because we do create our own reality. Sorry to say, people, but once you grasp that, you have a lot of power. And once you're able to shift and slide into that more peaceful curiosity, it's kind of like a game. It's kind of fun. Like, I'm curious about how I call this to myself, and I'm curious about, I wonder why that person's behaving that way. I might even ask.
And if you ask, you may find out.
And you know what I have found? I have found asking strips away their shield of protection, and you can be in a very vulnerable, loving place with someone, and you just might be able to help them. I've had people, I've said things, and I'm curious about what this is about, and are you okay? Boom, floodgates. They're in your arms crying. That's power.
It is powerful. I think curiosity is a strength, an important one, and I think it builds bridges between people, because people do like to feel that others are interested in them,
of course,
and that they're listening to them. And it's transformative. I worked as a therapist for years, before I retired from it, clinical social
Now
worker.
you tell me.
Only fair to bring it up at some point. But that, it often struck me that the real power is simply sitting still in a room and listening calmly to what somebody needs to be able to talk about. In normal conversations, we have a way of shutting one another up or shutting ourselves down. But the faith of knowing that somebody's really curious and they really want to understand you, it's understanding. Listening is the path to the understanding, and people do need to feel understood, and sometimes feeling understood is what gives people the permission and the possibility then of changing, because we can be very confusing to ourselves much of the time. It strikes me. So that's powerful curiosity. The other powerful state of mind that you talk about in your book is self-love.
Oh, my favorite.
And the healing power of self-love. And I was hoping you could talk a bit more. It's related to everything you've been saying, but I think it merits discussion on its own, the discovery of how important self-love is. And that, I think, is one of the things that you conversed with your cancer about. the importance of healing through self-love. So could you talk a bit more, Denise, about that?
Sure, I'll try to keep it short because I can do a whole 2-hour talk on this, but we'll do a 2-minute talk. Yeah, I did converse, and I did name my cancers so I could have a relationship like it was another person, entity, whatever. And there were 3 main things. More are in the book, but the 3 main things Penn said when I would sit down and meditate and, I just transcend my own self and really tap into the guidance, because that's what Penn really was, and my willingness. I said, what is this, what is this all about? Why are you here? What can I learn? And Penn said, stop beating yourself up for nothing.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not beating myself up for nothing. And Penn said, it doesn't feel that way in here.
Oh.
Time to go deeper.
Yeah.
Penn said, the more light you can hold, the less room for me. What does that mean? Well, we can't really get into all that right now, but it meant to clear out what's in the way, undo the stuff that I had to undo to allow more light and vibration into and I understand that because I'm a sound therapist, sound healer. And then he said, the more you love yourself, the less reason for me to be here.
Oh, okay.
I'm loving myself. Well, you are. And there's another level. There's more layers. So I got to work on really looking at deep love of self. Not in a narcissistic way, not in a conceited way, not in a boastful way, but in a way that, whatever it is, call it God, call it nature, that created me, loved me so much. And I just want to love me the same way. Because not to is, it's almost an affront to the energy and the magnificence and the miraculousness of who we are. When we stop to think about how miraculous we are, that we can just get out of bed, throw clothes on, go, I can talk to you, I can drink something. What it takes to do all this is masterful. It's insanely miraculous.
It is miraculous.
And I started to get that, and I'm like, wow, man, I love that. I love this, I love that. And I realized, my purpose in life is very simple. It's to enjoy.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be grandiose. My mission is to compassionately spread joy and encourage laughter.
Yeah.
And my vision for our world is that every sentient being knows the peace and the power of self-love. Like a real pure, and I talk about this a lot, and I bring this in my program that I'm starting. I teach programs every 6 months.
Yeah.
And I talk about it a lot, and we have whole chapters of the work that we do around ways of self-love, because it doesn't just happen. I think chapter 7 in my book is I took a good look in the mirror. And it took me a while. Mirror work is important. It took me a while to go look in the mirror and say, I love you. I'd fall on the ground, I'd start crying and sobbing, and then I'd end up laughing. And I started out, I like you.
Good place to start.
I like you.
Great place to start.
And then we started this engagement and this relationship. And now I'm, just yesterday I went off on a whole big tangent with her in the mirror. I love you so much, and we're going to do this and this, blah, 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 blah. And she's saying, that's great, that's great, that's great. And then I took to putting lipstick on and kissing myself in the mirror. So when I went back into the, you can't... We don't always remember every day, every minute.
Yeah.
Here's what I say, and then I'll end with this about this self-love thing. Yeah. We never reach the acme of self-love.
Yeah.
Yet we go out here, and we go out here, and over here might be, oh my God, I am so far from self-love, and over here is I love myself so much, and you're caught in this. All of that and the tools that we develop around us just are able to bring us to center more quickly. That's all I'm after for people.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting as you talk about that one of the discoveries you made was that you thought you loved yourself, and then Penn helped you understand, no, not really, as much as you need to, as much as you deserve to, as much as
I needed to heal.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of, I was reading, I forget which Pema Chodron book it was. She's such a great writer. But she was talking about people's attitude toward meditation. And she said sometimes people had adopt an attitude, they feel like, I have to improve myself, I have to get better, I have to be better. And she said, no, meditation is just meditation. It's just something you do. And if you have that attitude that you always have to be aspiring to change yourself, to get better, it's a form of, and I was struck by this phrase, subtle aggression against yourself. And I thought that was a profound idea. And what you were talking about reminds me of that, that even sometimes in our ideals, or feeling like I have to work, I have to get better, that striving is a very American state of mind, that we can fall into a form of subtle aggression against ourselves, and we won't see it, we won't understand it until or unless an experience like the one you had with Penn helps you understand, no, my dear, there are more layers to loving yourself, and it means letting go of some of those forms of subtle aggression.
And go easy with it.
Thank you for that. Yeah, absolutely.
You're right, it is a very American thing. I spend a lot of time in Italy. My side hustle, I have a small boutique tour company, and I take 10, 12 people at a time twice a year, and I spend more time by myself there with a lot of people I've met over the 18 times I've been there. And it's very different. It's really helped me find my way through some of this stuff too, because it is not aggressive. It is not. They take their time. It's very different. I'm blessed that I can go hang out in Italy.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds wonderful. I've been to Italy twice, but not for a long time, and it's just such a beautiful country.
Come.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Denise, one of the other things you talk about is you have a way of talking about miracles that really struck me in your book. You talk about how most people think of and define miracles as the unexpected, and they see them as rare surprises, but you say you expect miracles and you're surprised when they don't happen. And I wonder how you think holding this expectation you have attracts miracles to you, or if you're attuned to see them, in other words, you can recognize the miraculous around you because you're paying attention, helped by curiosity. So anyway, I was hoping you could talk a little bit about that, because it just struck me. It's just a very different way of defining what a miracle is.
Yeah, and thank you for that, because miracles, I just said, we're miracles. When you see a baby born, is that a miraculous thing? And everybody's doting on us and loving, and then all of a sudden you turn into a little kid and you're doing something wrong and they want to beat on you and punish you and blah, blah, blah. We have to come around later in life and realize this is miraculous.
Yeah.
And if I'm a miracle, then I'm a miracle magnet.
Ah, okay.
So
well put.
I am a miracle magnet, and there are promises biblically in every sacred text that you can read about the miraculousness of life, and that you deserve. The kingdom is ours. Just knock and open the door and ask. People think it has to be harder. So I have a really good, strong manifestation muscle, only because I trust that miracles are here. They float around. They come all over around. They just find someone who's ready, willing, and able, and open to the possibility, and they pop in and they give you an idea. I may not follow every one of them, but there are. My life is charmed. My life has been filled with miracles. The miracle that I'm sitting here talking to you, what mind to you?
Right.
But talking to you is delightful, but just the fact I can talk.
Yeah.
Do I have side effects? Are they long-lasting? Do they get worse as I get older? Yeah, but you know what? So what?
Yeah.
I am surprised when miracles don't happen. And I love when they do. And most people are shocked. Oh, my God, that seems like a miracle. Well, yeah. Go get another one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go to Market Basket. They get them in aisle 5. They're really available.
I love that way of thinking about life.
It's fun.
Replete with miracles. Right. And when you learn to recognize them, you will see them. Yeah. But you've got to have the lens.
Yeah. I heard something. I know we probably have only a little time, but Marlo Thomas was on a TV show the other day, and I just grabbed a snippet, and I'm a big supporter of St. Jude's.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful place.
My dad was, no matter how much money we didn't have. I didn't grow up with money, but the money we had went to the church, and it went to St. Jude's and St. Anthony Foundation and whatever was, and somebody needed something. And Danny Thomas Marlowe quoted something he said, and she said, his best quote, "The most important thing in life is to notice."
To notice, yeah.
Notice.
Yeah.
Notice yourself. Notice the miracles. Notice what energy is around. Notice what doesn't feel good. Notice when it does, do more of that. And more importantly, notice around you who might need something. Notice where you might step in, you know, and make a difference, ever so small or grand. It really doesn't matter. That's why I wrote the book. That's what people said. Denise, you got, and I've probably sold, I'm just a self-publishing person, 20,000 copies. You know, that's not too bad. And I don't even know how many more.
Yeah, that's great for a book. I mean, the vast majority of books don't sell anywhere close to that.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, you know, notice things, which strikes me as another way of saying that is stay conscious, stay present, because we can easily fall into trance, I think, and then we kind of go numb to ourselves, and life is less interesting.
We just see this.
Just less interesting.
It's like, no, I don't,
So. Well, Denise, I did want to ask you because, you know, much of your terrific book, I'll hold it up again, builds toward Fenway Park and singing, which you've been told you know they couldn't guarantee. I mean, they took half your throat away, but singing had been very important to you.
Yes.
And so I just have to ask, what was it like then? I mean, I'd also add, Denise has a wonderful documentary about her experience, and includes many of the things we've been talking about, which is available on her website.
It's by the same name, From Stage 4 to Center Stage. Yeah, if people go to my website, they can click on watch the full film and just put their email address in and watch it. And
so you can watch Denise sing the National Anthem at Fenway Park. There's a lot of people there. So I just wanted to ask you, what was that like for you? And in retrospect, how do you think about it?
Well, there's a great backstory to that, which I probably can't get into right now. That was in the book about what happened the day that I was getting ready to go sing. And it really shifted me from like, oh my God, there's all these eyes on me and this is about me. It had nothing to do with me. It had to do with how many people I could inspire.
Yeah.
And so, you know, at first people say, well, what was that like? And I say, I don't know. I left my body.
I can understand that.
My body was singing, and I watched it. Yeah, that was funny. But it was an honor. It was a real honor. And the day before, there was a rehearsal. And I didn't know until I was on my way there that the media company called all the stations, Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 10, Channel whatever, and they all met me there and interviewed me. So that night, there were lots and lots and lots of news clips and on the 6 o'clock, 11 o'clock news. And that day, it was kind of like an out-of-body experience. I mean, it was to be, I'm a Bostonian. I was at Fenway in my mother's womb. And, you know, my mother thought I was born with a baseball glove on my left hand. Me and Ricky Paletti, all we did was throw the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball. No, I don't want to bake. Throw the ball, throw the ball. And so Fenway Park to me is like a church.
A sacred site.
A sacred site. And for me to be standing at home plate singing was... And for that day, it was the Pan Match Challenge Day.
Yeah.
And I had done that ride a couple times already to raise money for cancer for the Jimmy Fund. And there were, 5,000 people in the stands, part of that whole organization. Yeah. So it was really, I'm getting chills. Yeah. It was so, and what I loved the most was that my family had such bragging rights.
Oh, absolutely. Those bragging rights are eternal.
Yeah, it was really fun. And then they invited me back 3 years later after my book was published.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, to sing again. So that was fun. But
that's great.
It was great. It was great. People still call me.
Do they really?
And, 16 years later and say, I got cancer, I saw you. Are you still alive? Is this something you can help me with? So yeah. Well,
it's so inspiring. It feels like this triumphal moment, and you nailed it.
I nailed it.
You absolutely nailed it.
Thank you.
Well, Denise, it's been so much fun to talk to you. One final question: is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you'd really like the opportunity to share with people before we end for the day?
One thing is to go easy. you know, especially when things are going so fast. Slow yourself down. You know, a lot of illness and dis-ease. You know, dis-ease is just a disruption of the ease and grace which we were born into as our little miracle self.
Yeah.
And it's just a distinction that you can make, that it's a disruption, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You know, so bring back the ease, go easy, and go to my website, see where I'm, you know, what I'm up to. I'd love people to jump in and learn more about the upcoming program I'm going to teach. And I'm also speaking in Newburyport on January 21st.
Okay.
Unity on the River at 10 o'clock, and that takes place at the Temple
Yeah.
at 53 Washington Street in Newburyport.
Wonderful.
I'd love to meet some of the people that are out there looking at this.
Absolutely.
Just come say hi.
And again, that website is DeniseDeSimone.com. Easy to find.
Yes.
Denise, I can't thank you enough. It's been wonderful to talk to you. So much fun. And thank you so much for coming today to share your wisdom.
Thank you.
I really appreciate
You're doing
it.
great work. Thank you. Yeah.
And that's it for today, everybody. Then please join us again next Thursday at 9 for the morning show. Till then, take it easy, be curious, love yourself.
Love yourself big time.
Big time.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Denise,
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Farewell, everybody.